Hello everyone. In this video, we will discuss about overview of a computer system. What comes to your mind when you listen to the word computer? Is it a laptop or a desktop or a smartphone or a tablet? So my friends, all these devices belongs to the category of computer. Have you ever observed what is the common thing in the working of these devices? Let's understand that with the help of some examples. So let's take the first example. So what it is? It's a calculator. So what a calculator do? It take some number and some symbol from the user and then it perform that operation and then it display the result. How does it take the input? It takes the input either by keyboard, we press the keys present on the keyboard, or it takes the input with the help of mouse, like the one shown in image. The user is clicking on 3 and then is clicking on plus and then is clicking on 3 and then it is clicking on multiply and then he is clicking on 3 and then he is clicking on equal to. So all these things are the input that is given to the calculator. Then what calculator will do? As soon as you will press equal to, the calculator will calculate that expression and give you the result onto the screen. Let's move to our next example. So this is a very famous game which many of you have played on Android smartphones. So what we do in this game? We move the candy in some direction and depending upon that movement, some processing take place and then the structure that is present on the screen of the candy changes. So how this is happening? I am giving the input to the game by moving the candy in some direction and then the game is processing my movement which I have done and then it is giving us some output by changing the position of candy on the screen. So I hope that the basic idea is clear to you what is the common thing between all the operations performed by computer. So let's summarize it. In the case of calculator, what I was doing, first I was giving the numbers and the symbols to the calculator, and in case of game, what I am doing, I am moving the candy in some direction. So that is known as input. So I am giving input to my application that is running on my device. And then what will happen? After I give input to my device, then my device will process the input. Like in case of calculator, once the input is given to the calculator will calculate that expression that is known as processing. And then what will happen once our data that we have given as input has been processed, then the output will be displayed on the monitor or on the smartphone's screen. So that is known as output. So this is the cycle on which a computer works: input, process and output. Now we are ready to define what a computer is. So we can say a computer is an electronic device. Since it runs on electricity, it is an electronic device. It takes some input, it processes the input, and then it produces some output. So we can say that it is an electronic device that takes some input, processes the input, and then produces some output. But whatever it is doing, it is not doing by itself. It is doing under the control of some instructions, like how the calculator is working. If calculator is calculating 3 plus 3 is equal to 6, then it is calculating this under the control of some instruction. We have already stored some command or instruction in the memory of computer that you have to do addition when plus symbol will be given to you. And also computer may need to store the information for future use in memory also. So this is the formal definition of computer which is shown on the screen. So let's move to von Neumann architecture. So our computer generally follows input process output cycle. So the type of computer which follow input process output cycle are known to be based on von Neumann architecture. So what this architecture is? This architecture says that we have an input device and an output device. So, and a computer, a central processing unit in between. So what will happen? The central processing unit will take input from the input device and it will process the data that has been given through the input device with the help of arithmetic logic unit and control unit. And memory unit is also used in correspondence with this central processing unit so as to store the data that has been generated during processing. And once the processing is completed, it will show the data on the output device. Let's see all these part of von Neumann architecture one by one in detail. Let's start with input device. So input device are the devices through which we can give data to the computer. And as you know, our computer works on electricity, and in electricity we have only on and off. Similarly, our computer understands the language of 0 and 1 only. So if I am giving some input to the computer, then computer must be able to understand it. So input devices are responsible for converting the input that we are giving to computer into computer understandable form, or we can say that in the form of 0 and 1. Let's see some example of input devices. The first one is keyboard, the second one is mouse. So these are the most common input devices for a laptop and a desktop. Third one is touch screen. So like all of you use Android phone nowadays, so this is the way by which you can give input to your Android smartphone by using touch screen. And one more example is barcode reader. So what barcode reader is? You may have observed whenever you went for shopping, at the checkout counter, the shopkeeper scans the barcode present on the product with a gun-like device that is known as barcode reader. What it do? It read the barcode present on the product and give all the information related to that barcode to the computer. There are other input devices also, like microphone, webcam, OMR reader, OCR reader, and so on. Let's move to output devices. So, output devices are the devices that show the result available from the processor to the outside world. The output that is coming from the processor or central processing unit is in the form of 0 and 1, but human cannot understand the language of 0 and 1. So it has to be converted in human readable form. So it is also done by output devices. Some example of output devices are monitor, printer, and speakers. One more example of output devices is projectors. Let's move to central processing unit. So, central processing unit is the processor's chip that is present on the motherboard. It is the main control center and processing unit of the computer. What do we mean by this? Whatever processing is happening happens at central processing unit, and all the control is done by central processing unit. Like if you want to give input to the computer, then it will be controlled by processor. If you want to print something on the screen, it must be controlled by central processing unit. So this is the meaning of that it is the main control center and processing unit. It guides, direct controls and governs the performance of a computer. It controls how a computer will work. Central processing unit comprises of 3 parts. The first one is ALU, which stands for Arithmetic Logic Unit. Second one is CU, which stands for Control Unit. And the third one is registers. So, the control unit is the unit which controls and guides the operation taking place in computer. Like if you want to give input to the computer through keyboard, then the control unit will control it, like when you can give input and when not to accept the input from the keyboard. And if we want to display some information on the monitor, then it will be controlled by control unit only. Control unit generates some signal which control all the things that is happening in a computer system. Arithmetic logic unit. Arithmetic logic unit performs all basic arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. In addition to that, it performs some logical operation also. So what is logical operation? Logical operation are operations that result in either true or false, like less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to, and not equal to. And the third part is registers. So registers are small units of data holding places. We can store a small amount of data in registers. So whenever processor process some data, it may need to store small data in these registers. Let's move to memory. Whenever processor processes some information or data, it may need to temporarily keep information and data to facilitate its performance. So it needs some memory to do so. So we can say memory is the most essential element of a computing system. Without it, computer cannot perform simple tasks. Memory is divided into two parts. First one is primary memory that includes RAM and ROM, and the second one is secondary memory that includes hard drive, CD, pen drives, floppy. Let's discuss all of them in detail one by one. So first we will discuss about random access memory. Random access memory or RAM is also known as read-write memory or the main memory. Why it is known as read-write memory? Because we can read the data as well as we can write the data into RAM. And why it is known as main memory? Because our processor or CPU can directly interact with RAM and it can read the data from the main memory or RAM and it can write the data directly to RAM. That's why it is known as main memory. So if you will see, RAM is a stick-like structure that contain various ICs embedded on it. Whenever processor is executing some program, then that program is stored in the main memory or RAM. So we can say that the program and data that the CPU requires during execution are stored in the RAM. And RAM is a volatile memory. What do we mean by volatile? Volatile means that the content of the RAM will get lost as soon as the power is turned off. So the data in RAM remains until there is power. As soon as the power is turned off, the data will be lost. RAM is divided into two types. First one is SRAM, which stands for static random access memory, and the second one is DRAM, which stands for dynamic random access memory. Let's move to read-only memory. So the read-only memory stores some essential information that is required to operate the system, like it stores the program which is essential to boot the computer. What is booting of computer? Booting of computer means loading the operating system into main memory. So the program that is required to boot the computer is stored in ROM. It is non-volatile memory. It means the data will be retained always. The data will not be erased. It is used in calculators and peripheral devices. Like in calculator, what we can do, we can program the ROM and we can use it. We don't need to change the data of the ROM again and again. As the name suggests, read-only memory. We cannot write the data to ROM. We can only read the data from it. That's why it is known as read-only memory. And we can classify our ROM into four parts. The first one is ROM, second one is PROM, third one is EPROM, and the last one is EEPROM. So the second one, PROM, stands for programmable ROM, and then we have EPROM, that is erasable programmable ROM, and then we have EEPROM, that is electrically erasable programmable ROM. Let's move to secondary memory. What we have seen that our primary memory has limited storage capacity and is volatile. Like our RAM is volatile. As soon as the power is turned off, all the content of the RAM is lost, and also the size of RAM is very limited. If we will talk about modern computers, then the RAM ranges from 4 GB and it will go up to 16 GB or 32 GB, but it is very less size. So to store the data permanently and to store the data in bulk, what we require? We require some other memory. So secondary memory overcome this limitation. So secondary memory provide permanent storage and in bulk quantity. Secondary memory is also referred to as external memory. Secondary memory can be either fixed or removable. So we can say that fixed storage is internal storage medium like hard disk that is fixed inside the computer. So secondary memory can be fixed inside the computer. The example is hard disk, or it can be removable also like CDs, floppies and pen drives. We can take them out of the computer. Now we will see what a hardware is. So hardware represent the physical and tangible components of the computer. So what do we mean by tangible components of the computer? The components that can be seen and touched are the physical and tangible components of the computer. So what all component will come under this hardware? All the input devices, all the output devices, CPU, hard disk, printer, pen drives, floppy disk, whatever we can see and touch will come under the computer hardware. So below I have shown some example. Let's move to software. So if we will see that hardware by itself is of no use, we cannot use hardware on its own. We need some set of programs that can make the hardware run. So that set of programs that govern the operation of a computer and make the hardware run are known as software. The software is of two types. First one is system software. So system software controls internal computer operations. Like if I want to read data from input device, I want to transmit processed information to the output device, I want to check whether all the system components are working fine or not, I want to convert data instruction to computer understandable form. All these things is controlled by system software. So we can say system software controls internal computer operation. So one of the example of system software is operating system. Like most of you have used Windows and Android operating system in your laptops and Android smartphones. So I have shown here 3 operating system. This first one is Windows operating system, second one is Linux, the third one is Android. So Android operating system is available in smartphones, and this Windows operating system is available for personal computers and laptops. And also we have this Linux operating system. This is an open source operating system. Then we have application software. So system software only controls internal computer operations. But what do I do? Like if I want some software to perform some specific task, like my operating system or system software cannot play music for me, it cannot browse the internet for me. So what we need some specific applications to perform such tasks. Like we have Chrome browser. So what Chrome browser do? It browse the web for us. Then we have Microsoft Word. What we can do in Microsoft Word? We can prepare some text document. And then we have VLC media player. We can play music, we can play movies by using VLC media player. So that is application software that can be used to perform a specific task. So this is all about basics of computer. Thank you.